Howdys and salutations, y'all, and welcome to a later than usual night Tuesday stream. Thank you for dropping in. This will be a short one, I do apologize. Got to connect with a friend that I haven't seen in a couple of years, and that's not the kind of opportunity that you can afford to pass up, so sorry, but we had to reshift the schedule just a little bit. But don't worry, we will be continuing our Witch Hat Atelier streams, at least through this week, and then we may start looking at some different styles to study in the next week. I've got a couple candidates in mind, and plenty more that I'd love to dive into in a little more depth. But this one, especially, I just adore the line work in particular. It's not just the style of the characters, but also the style of the art as well. So I figured let's dedicate a little more time to it. And not just because, you know, it's been faring well on YouTube, because that was, as far as I can tell, kind of a flash in the pan, weird quirk of the algorithm thing, which is a-okay, that's the way of the internet. But rather than worrying about that too much, let's jump in here because we don't have a ton of time. So, so reviewing where we left off, or rather a quick recap of what we've done over the last couple of streams, which you can find in the new playlist we've just built. I say we, I mean I, and by built, I mean created. Well, you know, the words are close enough, English is flexible like that. But yes, so we started out looking at the style and the process of drawing this style, outlining, I think it was about 7 steps for this sort of architectural high detail one, and then attempted to apply it ourselves to an image of Rotenberg ob der Tauber, admittedly in somewhat rushed results, especially on this right-hand house, because I didn't think through the shading all that well. But I think it's still an interesting little study, something that I'd like to maybe have another go at with a little more time someday. That may not be a stream thing, maybe like a speed paint or some such. But then we got into, once you sort of have a little more context for the general style of line strokes and things, then we got into people. Because at least for me, people are much harder to draw. Oops, this one. So we had our study of Coco here, which, by the way, this style we're studying here, if you didn't catch in the front card, is from Witch Hat Atelier, by Kamome Shirahama. And it's just a gorgeous style. It's absolutely wonderful. And a wonderful story, too. So I won't spoil anything. All of our reference images here are from the first volume of the manga, and there are plenty more volumes than that. And we're not covering any major story details or anything like that today. We're just looking at the art style. That's sort of what will continue throughout this series, as it seems to become a series, with some of our other style studies and things like that. And truthfully, I'm quite happy that the style studies have been doing somewhat well. Partly because they scratched the fan art itch, which I do love, and partly because this is back when I first started like really focusing on art during the pandemic. Style studies were where I made a lot of progress very quickly and learned a lot about how this worked and like how different folks render people and images and art and things, and I think it's a very valuable thing. So I'm excited from a practice standpoint, and from a fan art standpoint because it's fun. But looking at this, we studied Coco, and then we tried doing a variant applied to Salt, one of my OCs, fun little character from an old D&D campaign. Obviously not a finished drawing. The next stream, we looked into a little more depth specifically at faces, not just overall. I'm on the wrong tool, that would be why. There we go. Not just like overall, but we looked at faces, partly general face structuring tools, but also specifically how the artist here is approaching it and her style of faces and drawing, and this different approach to hair, which we then tried to apply back to that Salt illustration from earlier. Whoops. So now we find ourselves, I'm going to pop this over to this side just so we've got the newest one on the end, find ourselves with just maybe 30 to 45 minutes today, so we won't have the full length. So I figured let's do a quick little refresh on the face, and then let's see if we can build on what we did yesterday, and actually outline the rest of Salt's face. Maybe by the end of this we'll actually have a completed Salt illustration. Oh, jeepers. I draw Salt a lot, and somehow it feels like it takes longer each time. And I don't think it's me getting worse, I think it's that I've learned more things, and have a little more context and experience, and things I want to work into it, and that just, it takes time. But we don't have to worry about that. Not right now, anyway. Well, let's grab our brush pen. We've got our little Milli pen. The good news, actually, I had some time to research micron pen brushes, and I think I found a couple that will be excellent candidates. Bad news is I have not had time to actually like download and install them and do some testing. So future streams, you might actually see those in practice, but today we'll still be using the default Millipen. If we use any brushes in the future, I will make sure to, explain what they are, or at the very least have description in the tooltip, and not just my my comically nonsensical. I don't even know, why is this called the Windows XP? Oh, it's because it looked like the old tube one where the back would like fade, maybe? Honestly, I don't remember. I made this one and I don't remember why it's called that. I know we usually used it on a much bigger brush. Well, anywho, let's focus on the Millipen for today, shall we? And probably back at a rational size. Okay. Oh, hey, Galactic! Yeah, I've been mixing up the overlay a little bit, although I still need to tweak the chat size so that it fills the whole chat box. We had too many games and art programs where the old overlay was obscuring important menu options, so I figured let's revamp it a little bit. Still not 100% sold on it, but it's I think it'll be a little cleaner and a little more streamlined. And if I ever end up going the full like PNG tuber or VTuber route, I can pop it down in the bottom right hand too with this, and I think it'll all merge better. Yeah, it's December already, isn't it? But how have you been? How are things going with you? Oh, I saw that you hit 200 followers, by the way. Big congratulations there. That is an exciting milestone. Winding up on the reference to try to get the right here. Oh, yeah, I'm in the same boat there. Oh. Yeah, I guess December would be a good time to finish that. Art gifts, they're fun, but, like, it almost feels like there's more pressure. When I'm drawing for myself, it's like, oh, however this turns out is however it turns out. But when I'm drawing for someone else, it's like, oh, I'm more invested in this. So good luck on that one. May your procrastination be at least interesting. So we've got our sort of center line there. This is probably not quite right for this lovely little circle here. There we go. And then let's look at this actual head shape outline a little bit more. Trying to do a better job as well of identifying this sort of silhouette curve for the eyes and where it's coming up. And I'll probably actually, honestly, I'm just going to disregard the circle. We'll build off of this shape for now. Oh, dang, that's a huge one. Oh, that'll be a lot of fun, though. I'm sure he'll appreciate it. Oh, let's see. Got kind of the eye line, but it needs to arc a little bit. And continue up more because it's not centered. We're in kind of a 3/4 view. One of these days I'll get better at face structures, but it is not today. But we can focus more on how they're handling the silhouette. I guess as a note on this sort of style study series I've been doing, last time we talked a little bit about how this artist often emphasizes the silhouette lines on faces, and on some of the high detail ones, we've got very heavy silhouettes. This one is not one of those, so this will have pretty light silhouetting. Let's see, just get it done before birthday this year. Ah! Christmas-fied Minecraft skin. Oh, yes, I remember oh, man. Not that I remember Minecraft. Obviously, I remember Minecraft, but like custom Minecraft skins, I used to make so many of those. Those were fun times. This really doesn't arc that much. Yeah, there we go. That's better. Oh, they absolutely are. They're a grand time. Let's see, this one, just looking at relative positions, comes further to the left, probably slightly more than this, and then lengthwise I think could also be a tiny bit longer. There we go. Yeah, there we go. Small chin. Yeah, there we go. Oh no, don't burn yourself out right at the end of the year. Holidays are supposed to be restful too, although they are always so busy. I don't know about you, but December has this weird problem where it has a ton of events, but they're all front-loaded because no one wants to overlap with, like, the holidays and time off in the second part. So, like, there may be family events and things like that in the second part, but there's, like, just a million things going on around here. Like, work events and social events and, art events and everything, and I'm just like, why? Could we not spread these out a little bit? Like, August has, like, nothing in it. Can we put some of these over there? But, alas. And good luck on it all. Because it's always an adventure. Let's see, the apex of this one's roughly parallel with that. And then it comes down to almost, yeah, okay, that'll... Ah, yeah, yep, fair enough. Gotta get everything up spick and span for family. Let's see. And from Texas, too. I'd say that's my part of town, but Texas is so stinking big that they could be, like, 9 hours away from me still. Fun, though. Let's see. This continues, like, that distance over again, really. Like, it may even arc up, like, a little bit more. More like that. I don't have a good answer for that. Texas is just, we take a lot of pride in being stinking giant. Ah, yeah. Dallas is a neat area. Austin is too. Houston's muggy, but it can be nice. It has its nice days. Yeah. No, but I had a grandmother up in, the northern U.S., and, like, our road trip to visit her was 2 days, and the first day we wouldn't even get out of Texas. And we're just like, really? We're still here? It's been hours. But it's fun. Just trying to keep all of these lines just focusing on their relative proportions and positions to each other. So this really starts arcing a little earlier. This ought to be more like that. And yeah, the 1,000-yard stare drawing. Maybe we'll come back to that one too. I was just looking for, like, a fairly quick warm-up today, and that one's going to deserve some more dedicated time, to say the least. This is like half that height there. Comes down like that. And this kind of, whoop, not that far. Roughly paralleling the cheek again. Really, it is more like that, isn't it? Because this particular strand of hair arcs out all the way. Let's see. Pointing in, that'll be fine. Over, and I'm gonna not worry too much about the details on those ones. As we get further away too, because this is ostensibly at least just a quick little warm-up thing. And I shouldn't need to worry too much about all of these other details and such. I always like to at least have the collar, though. I feel like it gives a good bit of context. Yeah. I do still have the 1,000-yard stare up in our references. It's just, we've got this one, but that one's, there's a lot more to unpack with that one. Good follow-up to the last stream yesterday, though. Let's pop back in here. Okay, yeah, that's something on the wall. That's not her head. That's roughly where we were. I'm not connected enough with the Witch Hat Atelier fandom, but it wouldn't shock me. Especially not after, like, it's supposed to get an anime sometime in the next year or two. And I really, I think it's probably going to get worse after that. Okay, but let's look at some of the actual line work. And this is sort of a mid-level detail drawing based on what we talked about last stream. So, not getting in all the fancy details around everything, but there's still a lot around the pupil and such, so... Let's try to get these lined up. Curve of the nose follows to roughly halfway the height on this. Follows the center line and peaks just about here, like maybe 1/3 from the top of this silhouette line. But yeah, no, it would not shock me if Kifri gets simped on, especially. I promise on these streams, because, you know, some people might be excited about the series and looking at these before they finished it, so I don't spoil anything beyond the first volume, and I try not to spoil even that. But suffice it to say, I suspect there's a certain subset of the internet that will really, really like Kifri once they get to a certain point in the story. Tumblr's gonna have a heyday. Tumblr has already had a heyday, I'm sure. They're quite on top of these things. Alright, hold on, let's get the mouth shape right. Oh yeah, 100%. I'm sure either Twitter or Tumblr or one of them is going to have another one of their infinite, seemingly endless, like, sexy man competitions, so... and after Sans Undertale stinking swept the last one, I mean, it's anybody's game. The internet is a wild place. For good and for bad. But I think there's still a lot of good in it. I hope. Okay, let's see. So that'll probably continue a little further because it arcs not quite past the tip of the nose, but it gets pretty high up here. And then we've got a fairly heavy eyebrow and eyelash going on here. I'm going to use that one as our sort of reference point. Yes, the internet giveth and the internet taketh away. My sanity. Sometimes I'm just like, oh, but when you find the right areas, it can be fun. Let's see, and once again we've got these sort of pupils. Even in this like small style, there's a lot of reflections in it, and not necessarily a particularly well-defined iris. It's kind of a neat aspect of this style. Although my very angular approach here, along with the heavy-handed lines, is probably going to make this look a little awkward. That's okay. One of my favorite things about this type of line work and these sort of micron-ish pens is that it really, really forces you to trust the process, because when you're up in here and all the details, they always look terrible. Like, always rubbish. And it's only when you, like, really zoom out and get a little more, like, have it and see it all together that it either comes together or you very quickly identify what needs to still be worked on. So this eye, height-wise, is higher on the face, so we may have to adjust how far this comes down a little bit. That's okay. I just want to make sure that we are getting stuff in relatively the right position. The peak of the nose is roughly horizontally level with it, and vertically it's just this side of the chin, so right about here. Continues up for a very short bit, and then down for a lot more, so actually that we might be about right still. Once again, getting a little bit scratchier line work on this one. I like... And I ought to pull up the some of the other references on here for what I really love, because this is just like a quick little warm-up reference I'm doing. Like, the art in this story is just wonderful. It really comes right to the point. Arcs not quite that far, because it almost looks like it could curve down just past the nose. So let's pull it back just a little bit. Yeah, this little millipen doesn't do tapers well. We'll get there. And once again, we've got sort of... This is the most, not complete, but like... what's the word for it? I guess solid of any of the irises we've drawn in this style study series so far. Really interesting. Okay. Oh, and then I'll come in with a bigger brush and just fill in some of the mouth a little bit, because there's only like a little white spot in there. Get like a little of the weight on some of these. Okay. We'll save and zoom out for just a second, and then we'll come look at the hair, because the level of detail here is looking a little silly with the face like that. And let's see, eye alignment. I'm thinking the right eye is like a little too boxy. Oh, this line shouldn't be here. This was from a different... Okay, that might help. Because now it's clear that this is... Let's see. This is part of that eye. Yep, the eyes may be a little tall. And the line weight on the mouth may be a little heavy. Looking like a 1920s or 1950s kind of thing, and that's not quite right, so we'll... the positioning was better before I did that, though. Alright, we'll tweak it at the end once we have the hair context, because right now the face is looking too detailed because it's the only thing that has detail. But let's get some of these hair swoops going in here. And this one's a lot different from Kifri's hair. These are long, like, sweeps. But that doesn't change the fact that... Oh, well, first off, let's get a lot of the shadow on this going. Bold patches of shadow, but still no... Well, especially in the smaller one, we don't have any of the screen tones that we saw elsewhere. But with the hair especially, we do still see the, like, multiple... They're almost... It's not hatching, but it almost feels like very long hatch marks. With the way that they overlap and intersect with each other, it's an interesting way to do the hair in the illustrations. Because you can tell there's some lines that she just goes over a few times to really emphasize them. And it gets a really... It's very effective. Then once again, we get the sort of staggered hair edges here that we've seen in some of the other ones last week. Let's see. And the lower half of this is heavier and we'll have to taper, but I'm probably not going to be able to taper that a whole lot, what with the pen weight limitations. That is okay. Because my main thing here, and this has worked pretty well other than I may soften the chin just a little bit. Whoops. And try to make sure that she doesn't look like she's 20. But the main thing here is I'm just trying to refresh on the line work and stuff, and while doing that, make sure that I'm still reinforcing some of the proportion stuff that I looked at the other day. Very specifically, like the face silhouette proportions, because I know that's something that I personally tend to struggle with. Okay. Sort of this one that almost, it really is almost a tangent right off the face here. That's interesting. And continuing one down here as well. Kind of arcs into it. This is a much less haphazard, much more consistent, smooth style of hair than when we look at Kifri's, which I'll look back at in a second here. Throw some of the straight lines out of the way and, like, make that a little more subtle. Not really, actually. That first one was pretty good. Okay. I guess it's a fairly neutral face, honestly. Like, I thought that it had a lot... I mean, it does have a lot of expression to it, but the hands are a pretty important part of the expression in this particular moment. This goes to show that when you're showing the expressiveness of characters, all the body language is important. Could have done that in the bigger pen if I was going to do it. I need to commit to the higher arc. There we go. Right now she looks very serious. Truthfully, Coco doesn't usually look particularly serious. She has her moments, but... And just trying to follow up with Like with this one, there's a small enough number of lines that I can basically just recreate them exactly if I want. We still want to pay attention to the fact that the lower sections have a lot more detail to sort of imply the shadows that should be here. And so it functions sort of like hatch mark shading, even though all of the hatch marks are following the flow of the hair pretty directly. But doubling up even on that, also just paying attention just to the line work and density and how they're handling hatches. We're not seeing just like perfectly consistent marks for the hair, of course. That might be good for shading a flat area, but in this case, because it's a fairly small drawing and the size of the page, they just go for solid shapes for that. So instead, we just we have a lot of fairly clean swoops. Yeah, we got this one, and again, rough warm-up, that's okay. I know there was another like stray hair over there. Looking away from it, yeah, the mouth is... I'm gonna open up the white space in the middle of it a little more. As percentage-wise, it was just off. Let's see if that's... Yeah, that's better. Now it doesn't look like heavily lipsticked, perhaps. It just looks like face. I may actually go for some of the slightly softer weight emphasis that we're seeing on here. Whoops, I'm on the wrong color. An interesting counter shade to go in there. Because there's actually quite a lot. With the lack of other shading options, they are leaning more on the heavy, like a heavy silhouette wherever a shadow is needed, mostly on the hair on the outside here. Which is interesting, given that that's not something they rely on nearly as heavily in some of the other sketches. But yeah, so we've got ourselves like a little Coco sketch here. I think the eye proportions are a little bit off. I'll go ahead and lean in on this one, but technically, based on where the nose was, it probably ought to be closer to the other size, but that's okay. Let's see, looking at some of the other ones, just for contrast, we've got Kifri here, and I'll pull up the reference for that one as well. Kifri here from last stream. There's a lot, the line weight's actually a lot more consistent in this one, except for very specific locations, like the silhouette of the face and like chin, and then the silhouette of the outer edge of the hand, which we're not going to focus on because it is scary. But generally speaking, instead the shading is handled a lot more subtly with just like a higher density of hair line markings, or things like that, especially down in this area. Or just like full-on like grid cross-hatching down here. So keeping that in mind, and keeping some of the face shape ideas in mind, let's look at Salt and see, A, if we've even given ourselves the kind of structure that we can build a face out of, and then B, let's see if we can actually do it. We've got ear position to keep in mind, hairline to keep in mind, and of course, our reference of Salt, which is admittedly very cartoony. And so she doesn't give us a lot to work with in terms of actual human proportions and things like that. Especially because this hairline might already be a little bit too low. Style-wise, kind of matches old Rugio a little bit. Another character I highly recommend. Again, seriously, I can't recommend the series enough. Witch Hat Atelier has been just wonderful. I'm probably 2/3 of the way through where it currently is. And then I've been waiting on the next book in the mail for... It was supposed to arrive on Friday, and then on Monday, and now they're saying it'll get here Thursday, and I'm not sure I believe it. So we'll see. We'll see. But I'm really excited about where it goes next. Okay, let's see. We've got ear, so we can technically use glasses as reference, although the odds are they're not going to be quite as extreme of an angle as we're seeing in the actual reference image that I've got. Let's think about where one eye would be and where the overall like width of the head would be, because I think that might be a little bit too far. Yeah, Salt! I mean, Salt is my go-to just because she's like the one character I've designed where I have a really good, just like, I naturally remember her design because I practiced it a bunch, and so like I kind of know what the elements are supposed to be and things like that, and so she's like my go-to for new styles. I know we've got Ollie. Oh, I shouldn't be doing this on the shading layer at all. Let's go let's actually make this a whole separate layer. Doesn't necessarily matter, I just don't want to accidentally mangle something existing. That'll probably cause confusion later, but eh. Yeah. Let's see. But yeah, I'd like to, well, I say I'd like to build out more characters. I'd like to have more characters. I actually kind of hate designing characters. It is so not my cup of tea. I really, like, frankly, I ought to lean into style studies and fan art more anyway, just because I enjoy them an awful lot. And then, like, only having done that, I can look back at maybe character design with fresh eyes. But I need to take a break from it for a while. Yeah, see, that's what I thought. That jawline's not going to work. That's just not a good center point. It's a little hard to judge based on this sort of structural... This was just like kind of a practice sketchy thing, so I wasn't thinking too much about, you know, what the actual shape of the head would need to be. I figured that was on a different layer, as was that one. Bits and bobs, yeah. See, it was just supposed to be like little details. Ah, well. You can sort of look to this one as a reference for how far things come out. And this one, Salt, appears to be looking fairly down. Or at least straight on, based on that ear positioning. Okay, this is probably going to be... like, face-wise, it's going to be almost profile based on how much of the ear we're seeing. And on how I've drawn the shoulder now that I think about it. So it's probably going to be more of a... like, hairline continues and then abruptly stops kind of thing. Just trying to lay this out. And then, much like we talked about last time, bottom of the face tends to curve in a little bit. Salt's case even more so, since she's still fairly young. But I also don't think that we're full profile. I think we're probably going to be seeing something more like this. So many things to consider. I talked about this last time, where it's good to do the practice and then do the applied part right after it, and we did so much face structure practice yesterday. We really should have done this part and not just the hair, but that's okay. Let's see. Because here's the thing, this would put like an eye here and then one mostly obscured. And that, obviously the level of detail is terrible, but also the angle is not quite right. And I think part of that is ear versus hairline kind of fighting. And also part of that is this chin line is not great. And if we're in the style anyway, we ought to try to mimic more how they're drawing chin. So we've got fairly flat. And then maybe curving out a little bit. Salt's nose isn't that big, although it is fairly turned up. Okay. We could have a little more of the face. Feels weird just trying to, like, scratch this out in retrospect. I definitely prefer to plan this sort of thing more in advance. Which may be what we ought to do. We ought to just do a fresh Salt drawing. But we're probably not going to have time for that tonight. In any case, this, I feel, is getting us somewhat closer just through a little bit of trial and error. I mean, it's certainly something. Part of it's that this particular chin line is just a little too harsh. Let's see. You know what, yeah, let's leave that as that for now. We'll come back and look at it, because obviously that's a very silly little sketchy structure placeholder. But when in doubt, why don't we go practice and actually try it out? Oop. I hope I'm still live. I just got a warning from OBS that it disconnected. That's not ideal. It says we're still recording. Reconnecting in 4 seconds. Our internet died? Did something log out? Okay, hopefully we're back. Hopefully we are back. Everyone on YouTube wouldn't have had a gap there, but... if anyone is in chat, can y'all still see me, or did I go down? Because I got all sorts of weird internet warning pop-ups there. Let's see. Just gonna throw a message in chat real quick. Okay, wonderful, thank you. Yeah, looks like we had a little bit of web problems. Okay, good, thanks for the help on that one. Hopefully that doesn't happen again. OBS just had a little hiccup. You think you caused it? I'd be impressed if you managed to curse my internet, Scopic. That would be a whole new skill. Yeah, it has been, but like my general connection didn't go down. I think OBS specifically had a hiccup, so that's perhaps something to keep an eye on in the future. Okay. Okay, well then back to what we were sort of looking at. We've done a fun little sketchy, scratchy thing, but if we really want to like actually figure out proportions and stuff, why don't we work it out on a fresh page for a little bit? We got ourselves a nice reference example here, so we may as well work off of what we've done today. I always draw a circle, and like sometimes I use it, but I mostly don't. When I'm using pencil and paper, I do a lot more. I have a lot more precision with like controlling how the circle's drawn and what I use it for, but like digital, I always end up a little more freehand with it. Also realizing the angle of Salt's actual face in the reference image is a little bit funky too. So we'll actually aim for looking back. Roughly what I think the head angle was aiming for with Salt. And kind of a nice, not unlike what we've been doing. Well, that'll give us a pretty... Ooh, that would actually be kind of interesting. The nose overlapping. I don't know that I have any reference images that are particularly at that angle. Nope, with all the ones I've grabbed... Oh, there goes the alert again. Okay. Yeah, no, even with pretty harsh angles, the artist generally sticks to... Oh, no, here's one. Okay, so we can look to that maybe as an example. That's good, we'll try different poses. That's, again, if you're really trying to mimic a style, the more different uses of it you can practice, the better. There's more experience actually applying it, and you're not just mimicking so much. So we'll try that. I'm gonna have to jump between... You know what? No, I'm not. I can just bring them together. Here, ref. It's genuinely quite handy. Although there are limits. We'll work with that for now. Okay. Now let's see. Generally for face shape, like we were talking about, the lower part's going to arc in a little bit, so it's not going to be fully flat like this. You'll probably have like a little curve at the top and arc at the bottom, and it just depends, depending on the person, how much each of those things arc. So let's take a look-see. As usual, as far as... Well, I usually like to start with the silhouette anyway, but once I'm past that, I like to start with the nose, so I think we'll use that as our central reference point on this silhouette. Knowing full well that this is eye level, so the point of the nose is going to be generally about a third of the way down from that along this axis. Not quite one-to-one, it depends on the person, of course. And Salt does happen to have a fairly upturned nose just in general. Let's see. We can sort of study how the artist is doing a lip line here. But of course, that's too straight out. And you can even see on Kifri's that the mouth is not just like flat like this and then picks up here with like eye divot and then straight. And in any case, while this mouth is certainly a good Kifri mouth, it is not quite what we're aiming for here. So I may scooch it over. Probably should have... You know what? No, let's just select all of these and scooch them. Really? I'm actually not terribly surprised, because I remember that one stuck with me for a while. Warriors was pretty brutal for the age range it was aimed at, and I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, but I can definitely understand why they might want to tone it down a little bit. Wow. How many re-releases have they had? Yeah, it was bad. It was pretty visceral. I'm not I'm not shocked that that particular fan base ended up with a lot of like fairly grimdark animations and stuff. The series did lean into it. Only got the one reference on this, so yeah, I'm curious. Wonder what all they changed. And then, like with Kifri, they've got just like a eerie smile behind it, basically. We made. Well, I don't know. Salt tends to go for very excited expressions, but I'm gonna actually try to stick with our reference for the moment. And match the style, because after all, this is a style study. So, may unsharpen the nose a little bit. Always got, let's see, that's tight curve on the outside, lesser curve on the inside, and we'll, of course, tweak it. This is probably not the recommended approach to... Oh, you got ice cream. Well, lucky you! Ooh. Ice cream is always a good day. I think we still have some of the Thanksgiving fudge left over out here. My family's got a secret fudge recipe, which I have become sort of the annual person who makes the fudge along with my dad, so like that's become quite a fun tradition. Looking at Kifri, we have something more like this, and then, like, you know, the glass. Actually, Kifri's a pretty good reference for Salt. Hairstyle-wise, glasses-wise, couple of things. So maybe this is what we ought to do next time. We'll continue this one on further into the next stream. But basically, we'll look at Kifri, and we'll try to actually do a proper Salt illustration after reviewing this silhouette side here, because this is a whole different perspective. I'm glad the Great Dame likes it. Good to hear from you, Complex. Well, used to we made it at Thanksgiving and Christmas, but it's the least healthy recipe I've ever made. By a huge margin, so we try not to overdo it. Also because it would lose the novelty. Like, it's not crazy hard. It's not actually crazy hard to make. Like, it's, you know, like 20 to 30 minutes in the kitchen, and like once you know the rest of the ingredients, it's not crazy complex. But you know, it would lose its joy. And besides, I have my own secret personal brownie recipe that would never see the light of day if the fudge one was competing against it all the time. That brownie recipe actually is also obscenely unhealthy. Oh boy, I remember back in Scouts we'd do like lock-ins sometimes where you just have the building and you get to stay overnight. It's basically a giant sleepover. I made those brownies, and like we didn't need anything else to stay awake. Like, you just eat one of those brownies and you're set on a sugar rush for like 2 hours. They were a little too potent, perhaps. Yeah, that'd be a good 4th of July one. Honestly, I think the reason we don't do that one, I made flag cookies one year where I actually had like the stripes and everything. That was fun, but generally it's because like the area I'm at does like a little local 4th of July parade and everything, and they always have like Dairy Queen blizzards at it every year. I don't know if they're sponsored or if someone just goes and picks up a whole bunch of them, but like, I mean, it's not like we wouldn't want to take away from the joy of that one. And summers here are so stinking miserably hot. Cold desserts just win every time. You know what? Yeah, I should just be doing this as a Kifri reference. So why am I? We'll do a Kifri study. Probably not in 4 minutes, although I can do a general like structure, like just kind of study in that time. This curve's going to be our proportion defining line. This doesn't arc all the way back up to the center, although it gets close. Angles more out on the bottom. Maybe halfway the distance if we subdivide it like this. And then a gentle arc in. But this one actually crosses the line. Arc back out, doesn't quite cross as far, and then we get kind of like this, and then the chin going. And so we can see how much it kind of arcs inwards. Yeah, it's just like a little local thing we do for the neighborhood kids. Because I don't know, it's fun, and they get to do like they all do like costumes and like decorate their bicycles and stuff. So parade's probably too strong a word for it, but it's fun, like a little thing. And my folks, since I'm an Eagle Scout, we're we do like the flag ceremony for it every year. So it's a fun chance to get to see the neighbors and all that. Probably make this a gentler curve, because it really is like not so steep. More like that. Couple there, we've got our curve out that arcs, but only really to this point. Once again, we've got this nice, like, it's a very different way to draw a mouth. I've not done a lot of profile mouths like this, and where it's got both like the sense that it's open but also technically closed lips is kind of an interesting style choice. Yeah. Okay, let's see. Bridge of the nose here, so it's really going to be, I think I put those a little too high, truthfully. These, and then we'll have kind of like this, which comes in looking roughly at this. Yeah, that's about right. Got kind of just the simple lines. They're not going for the solid lines. They're keeping them broken up here. Oh, we got the little detail of the actual like glasses connector. Oh, because we can see the side of the lens. Oh, that's cool. Okay, I like that. I like the style that they've gone for with the glasses. No rims, but like you can see just in the edge. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, no. As far as our holiday season goes, like, yeah, definitely 4th of July is such a miserable time of year to be outside at all down here. It's so bad. So definitely cold desserts will just inherently win every time. See, trying to match the angle, but also vertically, it doesn't really go past the mouth. It also, like, doesn't even get below the halfway on this lens frame. Got like a few straight lines there, a few ticks down. And pretty solid, like clearly filled in with back and forth, but a very clean, consistent back and forth, I would say. That. The reflection. His eyes are so much simpler. Like most of the time, Coco's eyes are so like sparkling with wonder, which is wonderful, but they're so detailed. Yeah, definitely popsicle season. You're not wrong. Let's see. I think I've made the top of this like a little too flat, and he's turning into a JoJo character with the sharp eyeliner. Let's tone that down a little bit, shall we? And then, unfortunately, I'm probably going to have to wrap it here tonight. So we will pick this one up next time. But yeah, we will keep it on with Witch Hat Atelier and see how these go. Thank y'all for dropping in, though. It's good to see y'all. let's see. I do want to look at Coco's eyes from one of the other references before we get too far into it. Yeah, this one. Like, these eyes, there's so much going on in these. I love it, but there's a lot of light and reflection and detail. And then you get to, like, Kifri's, and it's a lot more... Like, it's still broken up, but it's not the same level. And then with these smaller ones, it's, like, even simpler. I forgot how silly that salt face looks. Yeah, I'm already seeing, like, proportions. We'll probably need to push the nose out a little more and think it through. A fresh start might be better for that. But that is why we did it on a separate layer. So worst comes to worst, whoop, no harm done. So yeah, we will continue with our Witch Hat studies. Yeah, and I'm always happy to have you vibe here. I need to get back over to vibing on your streams a little more too. The schedule has gotten bonkers lately. And it looks like it's going to continue to be bonkers for 2 weeks and then just go dead silent. I'll give it back better. We just need to go polish it up first. Trust me, Salt. You'll like it better once it's back from the cleaners. But yes, but until then, I hope y'all have a wonderful morning, afternoon, evening, night, whenever it happens to be for y'all and for anyone watching. And I will see y'all on the flip side. And definitely go check out Galactic Tragedy too. His stuff is great. Absolutely awesome. And so I will see y'all next time. Thank you.